live on your tablet, phone, and the KUTV app. This is 2 News Live.
Thanks for joining us on 2 News Live. I'm Brian Schnee. Thursday, August 24th. Want to take you to a live shot from the air right now in Atlanta, Georgia, where former President Donald Trump is expected to surrender regarding charges in connection with the 2020 election. We'll also talk about last night's first Republican presidential debate, but want to bring you this live picture there from the helicopter shot we've been following for the last 45 minutes or so, even more. The president, or former president, took off from his aircraft here at Hartsfield-Jackson International Airport, where he landed after about an hour, 40-minute flight from Newark International Airport earlier this afternoon. Again, it's 7:30 local time there on the East Coast, so here at 5:30 for us, this is a live look at former President Trump's motorcade, very, very substantial motorcade, mind you. I don't know, maybe 24 vehicles were in this, of course, with motorcycles leading the charge. They did take one of the local interstates, cleared the traffic there. They've been making a very swift move to the Fulton County Jail, where former President Trump and 18 others are expecting to be involved in the indictment against them by the district attorney there in Fulton County regarding a scheme to undermine, of course, the Georgia voters when it comes to the election in 2020. You may remember former President Trump lost the state of Georgia in that election by a very slim margin. They did the recounts, they did everything over and over again, and it was a very, very, very slim margin. Of course, former President Trump not happy about that, but there is the timing here where all of this came to light. This is the fourth indictment that former President Trump was involved in the last 6 months or so. Very historic time. We've talked about it a number of times here on this very program. And of course, KUTV2 News, when a president and former president involved in some of these criminal proceedings, they're getting very close to the location of the jail right now. You can tell that they're kind of weaving around here some of these side streets in Atlanta. They just got off the freeway and were able to wind their way through. Really amazing to see the support from local law enforcement that have closed down countless roads here in this area for former President Trump to make his way to the Fulton County Jail. Just going to take a look at one of the other monitors here to see what one of them looks like here, and just going to see if we can get a glimpse. Let's take frame sync 4 here, fellas, in the back if we can. As you're going to catch the front view of the motorcade coming in right now, led by a number of members of law enforcement here on motorcycles. And we're expecting to see the full motorcade come in here just outside of the Fulton County Jail. Doesn't look like much outside there, but there are dozens and dozens of people out there. There are Trump supporters out there. There's a lot of media members out there. And now, a moment really we've all been awaiting here in the last few days, specifically today, former President Donald Trump pulling in to the Fulton County Jail. Here he will be receiving a mugshot like others that are also involved in this indictment. Large names like Rudy Giuliani, other lawyers that were involved, former members of Trump's team. This is the moment we've been looking for over the last hour and a half or so, as we've been following this for you on 2 News at 4 o'clock, also 2 News at 5, and right now here on 2 News Live, bringing you this breaking news of former President Donald Trump getting into the compound there at the Fulton County Jail, where he is expected to surrender regarding the charges and the indictment against him and 18 others. Earlier today, back here in Utah, Governor Spencer Cox was also asked about today's events involving Mr. Trump. Let's take a listen if we have it.
It's always a sad day for our country. Anytime there are legal issues surrounding the presidency, again, I've said before, he is entitled, like all of us, to the innocence until proven guilty. He'll go through the process, and I believe in our court system, I believe in our judicial system, and I believe that the truth will come out, and look forward to seeing that play out.
Let's take a live look from the air right now in Atlanta, Georgia. Thanks to the folks at Atlanta News First for this wonderful video throughout the afternoon. They have been our eyes in the sky here, tracking Trump's Boeing 757 coming into the airfield and the airspace there. Trump's plane came in from the east. They made very good time, for what it's worth, from Newark International Airport this afternoon, where they took off about 3:20 our time here, Mountain Time. Landed there just about 5 o'clock, a moment or so before. Trump's motorcade and his personnel pulling into that covered area. It's a very good chance you will not see former President Donald Trump get out of that vehicle that he stepped into there on the tarmac and the flight line there at Hartsfield-Jackson International Airport. This is a live look from outside the jail, where they've got the heavy artillery out there, they've got the big vehicles, they've got the state police. We called them the Bearcat there when I was in college. One of our local departments had the Bearcat. They would roll it out for very significant situations where there is a heavy police presence and security presence here in Georgia as another good example. Again, this is a live look outside of the Fulton County Jail, and you can take another look inside at the motorcade that escorted former President Trump into the jail compound. And again, we'll have another live look from high up above. You can see just how many escorted former President Trump into this area. Again, he is here expected to surrender regarding that indictment that has been placed down by the Fulton County District Attorney regarding the 2020 election, attempts to overturn that election. There's been a lot of conversation. If you do follow politics, you've definitely heard of this. Just to keep in line with politics, we've been talking about former President Trump a lot over the last day or so. He did not appear in the GOP debate last night, but according to all the polls out there, for the most part, he is clearly the front runner. So all of this happening as former President Donald Trump vies for another campaign to be the President of the United States again. Here is another live look from outside looking at that security presence. Today, I also had the chance to speak with Utah GOP Chair Robert Axton, who is in Milwaukee, which is where that debate was held last night. He's a part of the Republican National Committee conducting a number of meetings. I had the chance to ask him about Mr. Trump's surrender. Take a listen.
We're in somewhat of uncharted territories here in the United States, and I hope it's territories that we take very seriously. First, we have the presumption of innocence. So you're innocent until proven guilty. But another component that we have to consider that is occurring is we've opened up a can of worms if we establish as normal the ability for one political party to go and attack their political challengers through the courts. Certainly, nobody's above the law, and if that proves to be the case with President Trump, so be it. And we live in a country where accountability does matter. But we also have to be especially concerned when we see the politicization of all of the DOJ efforts, all of the efforts really to go and hold President Trump accountable. I think there's a lot of interesting laws that are being applied in new ways. And when you have to interpret the law and apply the law in a new, novel way in order to seek conviction, that should be very concerning, especially when right now as a country, we're at the start of a presidential cycle. I think the people of the United States should be able to determine who our leaders are through elections rather than through the courts.
Let's take a live look right now from the sky. Fulton County Jail there in Atlanta, Georgia. And what we just showed you after talking to GOP Chair Robert Axton was video of Trump's plane taking off from Newark. It had landed about 40 minutes ago or so. Made very good time up to the jail there, which is just north of the downtown area. So to paint a picture for you, Hartsfield-Jackson International Airport is south of downtown Atlanta. He had to go through the Atlanta main area, had the freeway closed off for him, some good treatment there, and made his way all the way up to the jail, where expected to see maybe a mugshot come out very soon. We'll get fingerprinted. Here's a live look on the ground right now. Just a massive security detail for the former president. Can't understate that enough. How many people were involved just to get former President Trump to surrender here at the Fulton County Jail. This will be the fourth time this year that Trump, the early frontrunner in the 2024 Republican presidential primary, is booked on criminal charges. Some of them you may remember stemming from the state of New York. Others in Georgia had the Mar-a-Lago raid. He talked about that with Tucker Carlson, a former Fox News host, in an interview that was released last night on the social media platform that we know as X now. Trump's previous arrests happened in a courthouse. This is very different compared to all of these. This is where he will be turning himself in a jail, as others have, in connection to this indictment. If we have any more great visuals to show you, obviously we've been following this, we will show them to you throughout the rest of the program, but we're going to move on to last night's GOP debate. Former President Donald Trump was not there. You know where he is today, but this happened in Milwaukee. It means a lot actually for those candidates, that they had a lot more time on the stage with former President Trump not there. I had the chance to catch up with a local political science professor to learn more about the relevance of the candidates taking the stage.
It was significant because it was first. We had 8 participants who qualified under the guidelines. First impressions very often can be lasting impressions. One significant individual who was not present, although in spirit, he was certainly there. But I thought that in terms of the visibility, I was very impressed with Nikki Haley, the former governor of South Carolina and UN ambassador, the only woman of the 8, very assertive, very substantive, and was, I thought, very articulate. She helped herself significantly. I thought that the individual who is the youngest, who's only 38 years old, never held public office, was the surrogate for the ex-president, and received considerable criticism from all of the other participants, and probably with good reason. I was impressed with Chris Christie, former governor of New Jersey, and I should say 6 of the 8 participants are former governors. Historically, it's been governors, not senators, congressmen, business people who have been presidents, because they have to be managers, administrators. They have to say no to legislative bodies. They have to put together budgets. So that was significant. But also the debate. There's nothing in the Constitution that says that debates are required. The first presidential debates we had were in 1960 with John Kennedy and Richard Nixon, and then again with Jerry Ford and Jimmy Carter. And ever since 1976 with Carter and Ford, the American people expect debates. And if you don't participate in debates, that's usually a negative because you're ducking and dodging.
Do you feel like not participating last night in any way does hurt the former president in his potential re-election bid here?
No and yes. It did not hurt him with his political base, given his poll numbers. The fact if he had been on center stage, he would have been the target for criticism because he's perceived as an incumbent. The others are perceived as challengers. What do challengers have to do? They have to challenge. They have to criticize. They have to, and so by not being on, probably helped him with his political base. However, with independents, with those Democrats that could be persuaded, he was perceived to ducking and dodging.
We also asked Utah Governor Spencer Cox about last night's debate and some of his takeaways. Here's what he had to say.
The good news is that we have lots of incredible options. And I've said this before, I'm a fan of governors. I think governorships really prepare people for that executive leadership that is so important in our country. And we have lots of governors that are running. I was very impressed with several of them. And so I think there are some great options out there. And we'll see what happens when voting starts in Iowa in a few months.
Scott Thuman joining us from the airport right after, of course, a busy night in Milwaukee. Scott, thank you for being here. How did the candidates make the most out of last night? What did you witness? What did you see?
Yeah, I think that what they have to do is look for any little nugget of optimism that they can build off of, right? So what you do instantly after a debate is you go into the spin room. They did that last night. They try and explain their positions, clean up messes if they had any, build on any momentum they might have gained, but then it's off to the next stop. So they're in Iowa, they're in New Hampshire, they're in South Carolina, whatever state they need to go campaign in. And that's where they have to instantly decide, what is my path forward? Is it hitting another candidate for a flaw they had, thinking I can leapfrog them? Or is it, I got a little bit of traction when I said this last night, the ratings were good, the reception on Twitter was great, and so now I need to harp on that as much as possible, try and build more support. And if you can get 2 or 3 good highlights out of that debate that you can use, you can repeat in your speeches for the next week, maybe even for the next month until the next debate, you do that because you've got to build that donor base. Because remember, it's tougher to make the next debate. You have to have more donors than you needed for this one, and you have to have better poll ratings. All of these come into play. So the real work in some respects begins today for many of the candidates.
Chief Political Correspondent Scott Thuman with us. Scott, who do you think had the ability to gain that most traction from their debate last night?
I think there were a couple of people who have opportunities to really make some strides. Like the first one that's interesting is Vivek Ramaswamy. And I say that because he took so much incoming fire. He said things that a lot of people would find really polarizing or extreme, calling climate change a complete hoax, saying the first thing he would do is pardon former President Trump, calling to give back territory to Russia that has been seized, that was previously Ukraine's until this war escalated. These are polarizing, sometimes very divisive stances. And the rest of the candidates really jumped on him. I mean, they did not take kindly to the fact that he said, I'm the only one up here who's not in someone's pocket, who's not essentially paid for. And so he's going to take a lot of slings and arrows moving forward. However, he also got a ton of attention, a lot of time in the limelight. A lot of people thought that his message as being young, vibrant, different, not a traditional politician will help him in the future. The question is he like one of these candidates that we've seen so many cycles? It's a bit of a newcomer that comes out of left field, goes from 0 in the ratings to suddenly in the polls to suddenly getting, 5, 6, 7, and in his case, a couple of double-digit polling results, and then falls apart. Or does he have staying power? Is he someone who's playing the long game? Especially, you've got to remember that former President Trump wasn't on the stage last night, and Vivek Ramaswamy is one of Trump's biggest cheerleaders. So he got to play proxy. He got to be in the second podium when it comes to leverage there. And he used it to his advantage to get a lot of attention. Whether it pays off, I don't know. There's a lot of confidence in that for the long haul. Look, Nikki Haley had a very good night. I think she was pretty strong. She asserted herself in a lot of ways, showed her foreign policy knowledge, and was one of the only people willing to say, we as Republicans have made some errors over the years that we need to fix. There was some reflection there. And Mike Pence, the bar was, I think, relatively low for him. I don't think people expected a lot from him. He had a decent night. And maybe one of the disappointing moments for the DeSantis camp would be that they thought he's in that center podium. Trump's not there. He's the highest rated of the remaining candidates and didn't necessarily have a performance that gave them reason to jump up and down.
A lot of people got a lot more limelight because Donald Trump wasn't there. And obviously for Trump, that was by design, appearing with Tucker Carlson in a recorded conversation released on X, also known to many as Twitter. It definitely got some views. It definitely stirred the pot if you listen to it. But his decision not to attend that debate, do you feel like it does pay off for Donald Trump?
Probably for at least the first one, because it was inevitable that if he was on that stage, everyone was going to come after him. And Chris Christie especially was ready with a sledgehammer, and that opportunity was not granted to him. And so it allowed for the debate to be about some more substantive issues for the first hour, and then they attacked him with a couple of hearty doses. But nonetheless, he got his views that he wanted on X, as you pointed out. He got to say, I'm above this. My ratings are too good. My poll numbers are too strong for me to be at what one of his surrogates told me is the kids' table. That's what they called that debate stage last night. And, he's going to sit out the next one, supposedly. But I talked to his son, Don Jr., last night in the spin room for a little bit. And he said, of course he's going to say it's predictable, but he said, my dad was the winner because nobody up there showed any new ideas, showed any way that they can lead the country better than he can. They were hearkening back to some of the policies that he installed. So, that's why they call it the spin room. But I think it was fine for him for one night, but you don't want to be missing from that debate stage or from the conversation for too long. At some point, people will say you're afraid to come out there and face the firing squad. But for now, it probably works for him. There's that old, kind of battle mentality of why stick your head out of the foxhole if you don't need to. You don't need to take those shots. And for now, he can get away with it because he does have that big lead.
One night, one debate, many more days ahead here before decisions are made, before votes are cast, before people are truly in position for where we see them now. Scott Thuman, thank you for your time. Always nice to talk with you.
My pleasure.
Well, of course, we wanted to know what you thought about the GOP presidential debate. It took place last night, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. This poll did end, so don't scan that QR code. You won't be able to weigh in right now. 48% of you said, I just didn't watch the debate. We know. You caught your recap right here with us on 2 News, and we thank you for it. Sterling Paulson in now. Sterling, I know you're tracking some strong storms there. One of my favorite places in the state there, Bryce Canyon.
Yeah, Bryce Canyon. We've got a few storms up over the higher elevations, and we're going to continue. Yeah.
I know you've got other ones you're looking over in eastern Utah, too.
Yeah, well, check out. Here's Glendale, Bryce Canyon just to the north of that, and you can see that we have these storms moving toward the south, and they'll continue to do so. There's a lot of action because of the remnants of Harold that are moving through southern Utah. We do have a flood warning that's been issued for until 8 o'clock tonight for the Coyote Creek and the Waweep Creek to their confluence at Lake Powell. So that includes the town of Big Water. That flash flood warning is because of several lines of storms that have crossed across this area over the last couple of hours. So there's a lot of water coming down those dry gulches, and you just need to have extra caution. The biggest storm right now is right around the Alton area, and this thing's been going for about 30 minutes now. They're just getting pounded with some very heavy rain. I expect there may be additional flash flooding warnings issued because of these very slow moving storms right now just to the east and south of Duck Creek Village. And so there you see the town of Alton getting a very heavy thunderstorm right now. To the north, we have a few little showers up here just to the south and west of Evanston. They've been kind of hanging out there for most of the afternoon, but they are decreasing. High temperature today, we got up to 86 in Salt Lake, 80 in Manti, 79 in Hanksville, 81 in Page, 92 in St. George. And you can see that tomorrow we'll see those temperatures right there in the 80s, about where we were today across the region tomorrow. The latest high resolution radar is indicating a very significant drying trend across the state. As you look at 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock tomorrow morning, we're seeing mostly sunny skies across the state with the exception of the extreme northeastern part of Utah. And of course, temperatures will start to climb now. Zion National Park's 93, Arches 87. It'll be a 71 at Bryce Canyon, and as they dry out in Capitol Reef, about 75 degrees. Flash flood potential goes down a little bit, but still, stay out of the slot canyons if you don't have to be in them for at least a couple more days until we really get some serious sunshine in the forecast. Speaking of sunshine, 88 on Friday, 92 on Saturday, 93 for the pool forecast here along the Wasatch Front, and it's a green light for the car wash this weekend. Temperatures are going to stay hot because of this giant high pressure ridge that's going to be over us. This is Sunday at 6 p.m. and we're looking for those temperatures to stay fairly toasty in St. George up to the triple digits. Overnight lows in the 70s, maybe some storms later next week. We'll track that for you. And for Salt Lake City, well, we've got 80s, then 90s, and it stays that way for 5 days, up to 95 on Tuesday. It gets a little windy later next week. Those temperatures will definitely get your attention if you're sitting in a classroom somewhere in school next Tuesday or Wednesday and it's 95 degrees outside.
Yeah, I'm not looking forward to that here as we end the month of August with those temps not going the other direction right now.
Yeah, they will. When we get to September, we'll start to see, things start to level out. They'll look pretty nice.
Thank you, Sterling. Let's take a live look right now at this breaking news we've been continuing to follow for you here on 2 News Live. This is a live look from the air. Don't worry, the shot will come back. It's been going in and out from the sky, courtesy of our friends in Atlanta there. Here's another look from the sky. Just about 15 minutes or so ago, former President Donald Trump turned himself in and surrendered at the Fulton County Jail. We will continue to follow this coming up on 2 News at 6 o'clock, just about 7 minutes away. Thanks for watching 2 News Live tonight. Join us tomorrow. Have a great night.
Great job, Brian.
That could be a press vehicle, though.
What happened?
One of the guys had his.
Sure, I'm still here. Yes, I am still here, I promise. Yeah, no, I appreciate you checking on me, making sure.
I got you.
All the motion.